It says I'm live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Tune In DTI Live. I even straightened my hair for you today. I haven't straightened my hair in probably a million years, and definitely before I started going gray. What I come to realize is that gray hairs don't like the flat iron because they stand straight up and you can't really see them, but I didn't because I thought it would be funny to point out, but you can't see them. But the other thing that I am noticing though, I have this I love it. I call it my witchy stripe. It's just like one stripe of gray. It's like the perfect highlight and it looks good all straight. So anyway, I digress. We're here to talk spirituality. We're here to talk consciousness, but we are still humans. We still have things, and I like doing my hair. I like having myself. I like getting myself together and communing with you. So thanks for allowing me to be me on these daily tune-ins. So these 40 days of intensity. If you tune into these DTIs every day, you're probably like, oh, this again. But yes, it's this again. I said I was be with you on this 40-day journey, and it feels like it's never going to end. But I had a pretty big thing happen yesterday, and I wanted to share with you personally. I posted about it on Instagram and Telegram. I also posted more intimately about it in the Ascension Bank. And if you haven't become a member of the Ascension Bank yet, I'm going to share more vulnerably about my personal journey simply because it's kind of protected more in there. Social media isn't really, I'm pretty vulnerable on social media, but there are things that I don't want to talk about there, but I do want to have space. I've always wanted to create a container and a space for us to have these deeper conversations, personal conversations. So I'm going to be more intimate and vulnerable in that space. So I talked a little bit more about what I'm about to share with you on a higher level last night. But last night I made a stupid mistake, and it was my own fault. And I was dealing with banking stuff, which anytime I have to get into or like deal with banking stuff, it's a trigger for me. It brings up a lot of money fears that I've had that I'm working on clearing. It brings up a lot of just frustrations I have with the banking system, the financial system of the global financial system. I can see it. Like I can see the consciousness underneath it. I can feel the consciousness of the system. So having to be in there, it feels dirty. It feels yucky. So there's a lot of entangled stuff when I do banking stuff. So, my little light showing. That's not really cool, but whatever. Nothing's perfect here. But all of that energy is in there when I get in there. So I made a stupid mistake, and I transferred money to all of our money to an account that we no longer have access to. And as soon as I touched click the button, I knew what happened. And it sent me spiraling because we are in a foreign country. Having an American bank and being in a foreign country for as long as we have, it's been 8 months since we've been out of the US, but we're not settled anywhere to open up a bank account over here in Europe. So it's been a big hassle. It's been a thing here, and it has sent me many triggers along the way to work through. So with these energies coming in that I always talk about, and then the things are being triggered. So I was triggered last night. I went into a panic. I immediately called, and then there's like the 45 minutes of waiting online, right? And the whole 45 minutes I was waiting, I'm churning, right? All of my stuff. And I know what's happening. I know it's being triggered. I know these energies are intense. I have the higher consciousness and the higher perspective to know that this is a test. And God, source, universe, whatever it is, doesn't send us tests. My ego self was barking at me. How could you be so stupid? You're a complete F up. Here we go again. Here we're going to be scared. We're going to be anxious. We're going to be and giving me all the things to be afraid of. But the interesting thing was, as I sat there as an observer, I heard this barking voice that is usually really loud and that usually wins the battle. And at the same time, all of a sudden, there was this voice that, what used to be called the still small voice, the voice of intuition, the voice of the higher self, the voice of the soul. She was just as loud, but instead of barking back at it, so there was this ego wanted a war. It wanted to win. It wanted to overpower. It wanted to be the boss. It wanted to, the warrior. But this warrior was just as loud, but instead of speaking to it, she was speaking to me. And she was saying, remember who you are. Remember who you are. Remember what you're here to do. Remember that you can create miracles. And she just kept saying it. This is a brand new experience. And what I realized in that moment where I could feel the cortisol running through my body, right? When, the fight or flight response, when you feel like you got to fight for your safety and fight for your security. And how are we going to buy food? We won't have access to this money until next week because the problem had to be righted and I wouldn't have access to it until, 5 business days and we're going into a weekend. So the cortisol was rushing through me. I had the white noise and it wasn't like the ascension symptom noise. It was the noise of my body going woo, 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 just being in the panic of it. It was the same feeling as a panic attack, which this thing, an anxiety attack, which this thing usually triggers. But this voice was finally just as loud, but not aggressive, just more assertive to me. Remember the practice. Remember what you've done this year. Remember what you've been through. Remember what this is all about. And what this is all about, y'all, what she was reminding me of this ascension process of rising in consciousness is to remember that all of the platitudes you've been giving, the light always wins, right? Always wins. The light of knowledge, the light of who we are, the truth of who we are always wins. There's always going to be the darker, denser parts of life, the polarity, but we get to choose. Do we keep listening to that? Do we keep operating in those same patterns? Do we keep operating in those same behaviors of saying, oh my gosh, this is right. I am a piece of S. And oh my gosh, I'm going to allow myself to go into the panic attack, into the anxiety attack, and I'm going to beat myself up and it's going to last. I'm going to go to bed like that. Or do I remember who I am? Remember that I get to choose. And it was a fight to do it. But I sat there, I sat in a chair right next to me, right here, and I just kept remembering. And I took myself through a self-hypnosis process and started to invoke and pull in the intention and to remember that I am a unique expression of source. I am a magnet. I am an electromagnetic field for miracles when I allow myself to be that. When I allow myself to come into a balanced state, into a state of homeostasis, when I allow myself to let go of everything that this is saying. This is still barking, but I just kept saying, I remember who I am. I remember that I am an electromagnetic field for miracles. I remember that I am that, and I allow myself to let go of everything it is saying. This is when I choose a new way. This is when I choose to go in the direction of the light. This is when I go and trust miracles are here. I go in this direction now. This is my new way of operating. This is how I go. This is the new choice. This is the new choice. And it was constant for 15 minutes. I sat there and continually kept reaffirming the direction that I was choosing to go, which is how I've always gone. I could feel my body coming into a more balanced state. I could feel my body coming down. I could feel the cortisol kind of, stopping, not stopping, but it was flooding through, and I could see, and I just kept allowing myself to say these This rush of adrenaline is leaving my body. It's going through my feet. It's going back down into the earth. I can feel myself coming down. I can feel myself relaxing. I allow myself to relax. I allow myself to embody this new truthful state of who I am. I allow myself to embody this higher frequency. I allow myself. And this is what for 15 minutes. And for 15 minutes, this was still barking. But after 15 minutes or so, this was quiet. And this was soothing. And she was saying, that's it. That's what this is about. And and y'all, my husband came out and he said, I have an idea. And he went in the bedroom and came out and he said, check our account. And I checked the account and the money was back in there. It was a miracle. It was divinely led. It was exactly what I kept on choosing. I choose the miracle. I choose the wormhole. I choose the way in which we wormhole our way through the system that is, typically a closed off system, of banking, but he figured out how to pull it back. And it doesn't matter what happened or how it happened. It doesn't typically happen. And the miracle did happen. The money came back into our account immediately. I was able to transfer it over to the correct account. And we sat for the longest time, both breathing, because we were both like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that just happened. I cannot believe that. But what I did know, and I did believe it, we just had such an instant manifestation of a miracle that, y'all, what is happening now in this massive intensity is every aspect of who we are is being poked and triggered, and frustrations are being poked. So you've got the big things in your life that you're just riding the wave, waiting for the breakthrough. And while you're riding the wave and it feels so heavy, we're here, waiting for our breakthrough of leaving Ukraine is like the logical explanation. But there's so much energy that's wrapped around that and where we're going and what that signifies for us. So it feels so big. And at the same time, this banking thing is triggering even more. And there's something else that gets triggered. And then we go for a walk and somebody does something rude and that triggers, the anger, and that triggers. And there's all these little annoyances that feel so intense. You're like, what is going on in the world? All I want is everything to be peaceful. That is our work, to find the peace in all of that intensity. And when we find that peace in the intensity, that's when the breakthrough comes. That's where the breakthrough is. It's not waiting for it just to come and you're just biding your time. You create the breakthrough by allowing all of these annoyances to come in and poke and be like, I choose something different, and allowing it to go. And then the next annoying, like Wells Fargo comes at me this morning with something else. And I'm like, I'm annoyed. Okay. But because of that, I got to record a beautiful morning musing message for our essentially members around the annoyance this morning. Wells Fargo that came up because we were out of the again and stay on the line for 45 minutes. It was a repeat of last night in a different annoying situation. But again, the one thing that can trigger me more than anything, dealing with a bank. But it inspired a beautiful message. And I got to share the message and the gift of it with others so that we can all be growing and building together. That's what this time is all about. So I know it's intense. You'll get a breather, as I mentioned yesterday, on Saturday with the new moon solar eclipse. It's going to leave some of the steam, some of the pressure. We're not out of it yet. And the sooner you start to understand what this is about, and the sooner you start to choose a different behavior, a different response, you start to choose that what might still be a still small voice of intuition over the loud bark and power, overpowering, bark of the ego. That's when this will start to quiet. This becomes the still small voice, and it's still like, I don't think that's the right way to do it. But the soul voice becomes louder. Our job here is to flip the poles so that this voice is the one that we follow. If you're still ignoring it, if it's small because you're allowing it to stay small. So this is the intensity. All the things poking you and that are feeling like they're going to make you break are so you will start to listen here, because the minute you listen, all of this will get taken care of. I got evidence of that yesterday. I believe it, and that's how I've always operated, but it's becoming so much more powerful, and the manifestations are coming so much quicker and faster because we are in those higher frequencies. We're rising up into those higher frequencies, and the higher the vibration, the higher the electromagnetic field you are, so that you can pull in the solutions and the clarity of direction that you need to go in order to create the solution. So the opportunity, the opportunity to create miracles is here, and it's really easy, and yet it's kind of hard if you're still in it and you're still allowing this voice to be barking at you. Pay attention, be the observer, step back from triggered situations and say, what's happening here? Who's talking? Who am I listening to? Where is this voice coming from? Get really familiar with where does your ego speak to you from, and where does your soul frequency speak to? Where does your higher self speak to you from? Yeah, last night it was literally like it was like two voices. But again, one was like this in my ear and the other one was speaking directly at my heart. And that's how I heard it. So I could discern between the two voices, and I knew which direction to go. Because of that experience last night, I created a beautiful, it wasn't beautiful, it's a very raw, alchemizing panic hypnomeditation. I can't remember what I called it. Alchemizing panic. It was a hypnomeditation that when I came out of that and I felt the peace and the harmony in my body after that miracle and after everything just took place, and I was like, holy crap, that was the most amazing 15 minutes of my life, and it was intense. I went in and I recorded the meditation for the bank. So when they turn into a or anxiety, that you can listen to it and it brings you back into that state of homeostasis, into the state of balance, into the state of peace, so that you can pull in and call in those divine miracles in that moment. You are invited into the Ascension Bank. It's where it's a repository of everything consciousness, everything that builds the frequency of wealth. So you have a wealth of peace, you have a wealth of balance in your life. So money wealth, whatever the wealth is that you want to create in your life, we are creating that in the Ascension Bank. You are invited there. We're more intimate. We're a growing group. However, the intention is to build a group who are all ascending together, who are all working on building wealth in all aspects of life. And we're going to do it there. I've got some great events coming up in December. You can check them out on the website on this page. Thank you for being today's Daily Tune In. Thanks for taking a look at my hair. It feels a little dry. I don't know if it really likes being straight, but try new things. That's what we're doing here, everyone. Loves to you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Mwah. Bye. And my husband's home. It's perfect timing. Come on, you can come in, honey.